Okay, so let's look at functions in more details today. So we will look at positional argument in function. So let me define a function. We create a function by saying def. I'll call it positional function, right? And then I end it with a colon here, enter. Now here I'm going to put x comma y as well, and I'll say x equal to comma x, and then I'll say print here I'll say y equals to comma y, right? Now this is a very simple function, but we'll build on top of this function. There are a lot of concepts that we are going to discuss around this. So first of all, I'll call this function, and how I'll call it, I'll copy this here and I will pass maybe 10 comma 20, and if I try to run this program, we know the output is going to be print x is 20, x is 10 and y is 20, right? So this is something which we are aware of, no big deal here. Now this argument passing to a function is known as positional argument passing. What is meant by that? That based upon the position of the argument that is getting passed to this particular function here, to which I have given name positional function, the first argument 10 is assigned to x, that is on the basis of position of x, and the next one is on the basis of y, right? Sorry, next one is on the basis of value 20, which gets assigned to y, which is positional based, right? So this is something which we had been doing very often, and it's nothing new for us. Let's look at next one, which is keyword based. So I will make a copy of this. Let me create a copy of this one. Okay, and I will take my uh, this function here and I'll try to put it here. Okay, and this one I'm going to call key keyword. Okay, now I'm going to call this function. I could be calling this function regularly as I was calling. This works pretty fine. So first of all, let's verify that. So keyword, right click and run as. I get the expected value of x and y as 10 and 20. Now is the interesting part. So let me copy this and I say x equal to this, and I'll also say um, y equal to this. So in this case, what will happen? Yes guys, what will happen here? Yes, so here I have explicitly stated that for x give a value 10 and for y give a value 20, right? So if I even comment this, let's just run this one single line of code here. If I run this piece of code, what is the output I'm going to get? I'm still going to get same value. But the advantage of having used keyword based argument passing is that I could copy and paste this and I can swap it with y and x as well, right? So for some reason I'm not bothered about the position of the argument, then this is another option which is provided to me. Okay, so this kind of argument passing is known as keyword passing.
So in this case, we need to know the function variable name. Or
yes, you need to know the variable name, because here x is getting mapped to, now this time if you will display, the value of x is going to be 20 and y is going to be 10, right? So if I try to run this program here, run as, the value has got changed for me. Yes, so can you please quickly try this program? No, it is not a built-in function. This is a function I have just created, right? Keyword function. So you can give any name of your choice, as long as it is not a reserved word or keyword of Python. You can give any name of your choice. So I can call it as one also. Any name you want to give of your choice, right? So it is keyword because the variable name matches with the way you are passing the argument. I mean, this y and this y, both of them are matching. Therefore, it is known as keyword. Can you please quickly try this? So if you want to pass here, instead of 10 and 20, you want to pass a list. That is what you are saying. Okay, so let's try this. So let's say I have list 1 equal to 10 comma 20, right? And then I'll say list 2 equal to 30 comma 40, right? Now if I say, let me comment this one here, and if I go ahead and say x is equal to list 1 and list 2, right? Now if I try to run this program, let's see what it has got to show to me, right? So I could have as well mixed this also. So let's say if I don't want to do it like this, I can even say here, so x equals to 10 now. So I can try to mix the argument which I am passing. Here the keyword is important, meaning that the name of x and y should match with the name of the variable which is in the function. Yeah, please try it out. So next thing we are going to talk about is default values. So let me create a copy of this file which I have. I'll call it as default 3. Okay, so let me go and clean up all of this, and I'll call default okay, and then I'll have a function, and what I'm going to do here is I'll have a value of let's say x equals to value 1 comma, I'll say y equal to, I'll say value 2, right? And here I'm going to say print of x equals to comma x, and same thing I'm going to do it for value. Okay, and here I'm going to say print of y equals to y, right? Now here what I have done is I have created a function, and I have also assigned default values to x and y, right? So what it means is that suppose if I call a function without even passing a value to it, so the x will have a value of value 1 and y will have a value of value 2, right? So if I run this program, run as, so I get a value of x as y as value 1 and value 2, right? But what if I want to pass an argument? So let's say I comment the first one and pass an argument here. So I'll say I am value 1, right? If I do this and if I try to run it, then what happens? You will see x as being assigned the value. So this one gets assigned to the first one here. It overrides the default value, and the second one, which is y, will have the default value. Why? Because I did not pass any value to that. Yes. If in case I want to, let's say, pass values to both of them, so that I am value 1 and then I'll say I am value 2, right? So in this case, both of them are going to have values, right? So let's try to run this program. I mean, this is something which is very obvious. Now let's try something which will be a little bit more difficult here. So let's say I call a function like this, and I say I am trying to mix argument, sorry, default values, and the previous which we did was keyword based, right? So I'll say comma y equal to I'm going to say hello, right? So if I try to run this piece of code, what is going to happen? Right click, run as. I'm mixing default as well as keyword based, right? But in case okay, let's first try out this one and then we'll look at few other concept around it. Okay, so please try this. Okay, so now let me make some changes here and let's see if that changes also work. So in this case, what I'm currently doing is uh, this is the value I'm passing and this is the keyword, argument which is getting passed, right? So first it was position and then keyword. Let's try to change this, and I'll make it x equal to I am value 1, and y I will make it like this. Okay, so just 1 minute. So okay, now if we try to run this program, let us see what happens. Right click, run as. Here it is saying there is a syntax error which says that positional argument follows a keyword argument. So as a rule in Python, if it is a position argument, meaning this is position based, right? And not, it should not follow the keyword based. If you will see the PyCharm as an editor has also prompted you with an error here. If you hover on this, it says that positional argument after keyword argument. So as a rule of thumb, you have to remember that the positional argument should always precede the keyword argument. Okay, so this is not allowed. So this will not work. Please just try it out with the wrong code and see if it fails or you get a error like this I have got here. Okay, so next thing which we look at is optional argument. So let me create a copy of this. So I'm also I'm not sure, but I think so I have given you access to my Bitbucket, right, where all this code is available. Yes, no? Yes. So all this code has already been checked in. You feel free to please take that code. Okay, now let's say this is my function here, and in case I want to make an argument which is optional, what I will do is I will define an argument and assign some value to it. Okay, now let's say so far we I have created argument 1, argument 2 and argument 3 which is holding some value. Okay, now if I call this function, for example, this with a value, this is first name, I'll call it f, comma, last name L, and then last name I'll call as L, and comma, here I'll make it M, middle, right? Now let me not return it here for now. I'll just display this. I'll print name. So let's see what is the value going to be, FLM, right? So if I write this, try to execute this program, I'll get first name, middle name, last name. But if same thing I were to run without a value here, let's say I don't specify middle name, okay, it will still work fine because I have explicitly stated that M name, if it is not getting passed, it will hold a value as this to empty string here, right? So if I right click and run this program, it will be F and L. There is M in between which has no value, right? But you cannot do something like this. You cannot just pass a single argument. Why? Because it is expecting at least 2 arguments to be passed. If you try to do something like this, right click, run as, you will get missing one required positional argument, right? Okay, please try it out. Okay, now let's try a small variation of this particular method. So as you will see that I have put the option argument at the end of the arguments, or it is the last argument. What if I try to make one more method, for example? So let me create optional argument 3 here. Okay, in this case I am trying to put a optional argument in the middle or before the last argument. So don't you think that the compiler or rather interpreter will get confused as to which one it should match to? So there is no problem with this one, but for 1 second let's assume that this works fine, for example. Okay, there is no error. So how will it know whether it should assign uh, L to whether this one or which one it should assign to, right? So whenever there is an optional argument in your function, it should be the last argument. It cannot be any argument before the last. right? So if you will try to run this program, what will happen? It is not clear as to f will go to which one and l will go to which particular variable. So if you will hover your mouse here, uh, right click, will let's say run as. So it says non-default argument. So this is non-default, right? M name, it follows default. This is a default one. Yes. Ye- Yeah, I mean, it's not because we are not assigning any value to it. I mean, it wouldn't take any values, and it will be difficult to for the interpreter to understand that f should get assigned to whether this one or which one it should get to. So whenever we are using this approach, we have to make sure that it is always the last entry in your method, right? So it should be like this always. And suppose I'm giving a default value, so it should always be the last argument which is in the function, or when the function is getting defined. Is it clear? Okay, so that was regarding uh, passing of values to a function. Now, while we are talking of passing values to a function, we can also talk about, or we should also discuss about the values which can be returned from a function, right? Like you can pass a value, you can pass any value, as we have seen. You can pass a integer, you can pass a string, you can pass a list or tuple or whatever it is. Similarly, when you're working on return type of a function, it could be any value. So let's say I have this method here. It's a simple method where I'm trying to pass two arguments. So okay, this is let me say control Z. So here this is a method function one which I'm calling and passing two values, right? uh, Now when a method is getting called, remember we talked about that example where you press a coffee button, it gives coffee to you, right? So there can be functions which are returning values as well, right? So here I can say return of turn. For example, I can say coffee, right? Now when the value is getting returned, you have a liberty to even store that c equal to what you say function 1 with the argument, and you can print the value of c, right? So you can say here c equal to comma c. Yes. Now what you will get as a return of this particular function 1, you will get a value coffee, and you can display that. Now it is not just that you can return a string, you can return for that matter any data. It could be a list also. So let's say in this I have defined a list. For example, list1 equal to for example 10 comma 20. Here I can as well return a list list1, right? So now this function returns a list. I mean, this function is not doing anything useful, but I'm trying to explain the concept of how a value can be returned by a function, right? So if I display the value of c, this time I will get the value of a list here. Similarly, it could be a dictionary, or it could be a string as we just saw, it could be a tuple or any other data type. Is it clear? Can you please quickly try this? Okay, now here I have just explained to you return. What if I don't return anything here and I just return, say return, let's say what happens? So it comes as a none value. Now, what does just a simple return means? It means return the control back to the place from where the method was called. Yes. So it is just a return of control, and this function is not actually returning anything. So what do we get? None. None in Python means no value, isn't it? Even if you don't specify this line here or this statement here at line number 5, let's say I delete it, then also implicitly the Python will return the control back to the calling line, which is line number 6 here. Also in this case, if I run the program, here also I'll get none, right? So return statement with a value returns a value, and if it is without a value, it returns the control back to the place where the method was called from, right? And 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 if you are storing that value in a temporary variable like c, and if no value is getting returned, it will give me a none value, and none means nothing in what you say, nothing in Python. For example, if you want to try another place where none is used, so if I'll say there is a print statement, if I'll say val equal to print of hello. Okay, so here what is happening, print hello is getting executed. I'll run this program and hello is getting executed or displayed as a result of this. But the method itself, the method print does not return any value. So if I try to display the value of val as print val equal to, so what is val going to be? Again, it is going to be none for me. Why? Because print is an inbuilt function of Python which does not return any value. So if I run it here, you will see that val is again null here, right? Can you please try this one quickly? Okay, so since we are still on argument passing, we'll try a few more things in argument passing. So let's try to pass a list as an argument to a function. Okay, so I will create a copy of this class which I already have, or rather this file which I already have. So I will go here and let me delete all of this. Okay, and let's create a function, define def modify a list. Okay, colon, and I'll say shift colon enter, and here I'll say list1. Okay, now here what I'm going to do is whatever list is coming in for me, I'll say list1 dot pop, so it pops up an element list1 pop. Okay, and then I come down here and I create a list, let's say L equal to 10 comma 20 comma 30. Okay, and I say print of L equal to comma L, and then let's just run this program first. So it will show me a value of, okay, let's even call the function here. So I'll put this here, modify list, and here I'll pass the list L, right? Now after that I'll print it again. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm creating a list, I'm passing it to a function. In that function I'm popping the value. Pop means what it will do, it will pop out one of the values from the list, and after that I'm displaying it again. So let's run it. So if I run this, what you will see that the list which you pass to the function, whatever changes you do in that list, it is getting modified. Yes, no, right? Now what if I want to make sure that the list which I am passing does not get modified? So in the first case it is working on the same list, right, the original list which is getting passed to the function. What if I want to create a list? Let's call it L2. So I will call it list2 for example. Okay, and I'll make it 100, 200 and 300 maybe. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'll call them I'll print the list again. So I will say print L2 equal to L2, right? Then I can say modify list, let me pass L2, but this time the difference is I'll pass it with this bracket here. Okay, this square bracket I'll pass and a colon here, and then I'll try to display this again. Okay, so let's try to comment. I put a multi-line comment here. Okay, so let's run this program now. Right click, run as. So do you see in both the cases the value still remains same before and after? So when you are passing a list with a colon, what happens? A new copy of a list is created and the changes happen in the new copy, and the original copy is not getting modified. Is it clear? So in the case one, okay, let's try a few more tricks here. Okay, what I will do is uh, let's say after I create this list, I will print type of L2 right? So let me copy this again, equal to this, and I will do that after this also. Okay, now uh, let me just pass the list as it is. Okay, so I am trying to display type of L2, so before and after, and within this also I'll display, let me call it 1 so that we know which one is which one. Let me call it 2, and let me call it here, let me put this line here. Okay, and this is list for me, list, list, list. Okay, so don't get confused with what I am trying to do. Simple program is, there is a list here, and let's go one by one. I will comment this, I'll put a multi-line comment here, and let's put a multi-line comment here. So I'm just displaying the type, right click, run as. So it is giving me a list, right? Okay, actually I was trying to display address. Okay, maybe we can try that separately, but you will see that when I'm passing a list with a colon in the what you say in a bracket, which is a square bracket, a new copy of the list is created and the original is not modified. Can you try that one, and then we will look at this new concept which I was trying to explain to you, so that we can verify the address remains same. Okay, can you please? Yeah, so if I don't pass it with, so if I call this function, let's say maybe this one, right? So this list is passed and the last one is popped from here, 30 is removed, right? So the original value is modified, but if I am passing it with a colon here, so let's say I call this method, right? I i call this method with a, sorry, this one here. So the copy of that list is created and I will retain the original value of the list. Okay, can you please try it? Previously, I was trying to explain another concept to you with this. So let me explain that properly with a good example. So actually, I don't need to display the type here. Type is, it will just display the type of the string. So what I'm going to do is, in this list, I'll also say, if I want to display the address location of this particular list, then I have to say print of hex bracket ID of that particular list one, list one. Okay, so this will give me the address location of this particular list I am working on. So I will say comma this equals to. Okay, now I'll make it or let's say, let's make it uh, ADD. Okay, same thing I'm going to copy and put it here. So let's display this, print the list, and then before that let me display the address of that, and here also, and here I'll make it L, right? So this has to be L, and this is also L. So what I'm trying to do is, with this example I'm trying to display the address of that particular list. So with this example we will try to see that in this case, first case, when the list is getting modified, it is the same address location within this location at line number 7 and within the function. So if I run this program, so do you see the address as this and this same for all of them? So first address is this one, then let's call it to make it even more clear, 1, then I'll call it 2, and then I'll call it 3, right? So let's rerun this program. So I'll get 1, 2 and 3 as all same, right? So since all the addresses are same, what does it mean? It means that I'm working on the same list or same address location, and therefore when I perform a pop operation, it removes the element from that address location. Yes. Yeah, same thing. We'll try to do it with the other one. So let me comment this for now, and I will put a comment here. Okay, now let me uncomment this second one which we are trying to work on. So let me uncomment this, and I will put address. So I will put this, copy it, I'll put it here. So this is my list 2 now, list L2. So I'll call it address 1, then address 2 there, and I'll paste it here also, and I'll call this as 3. Okay, so this is 1, this is 3, and this is 2. So if I try to run this program now, what will happen? Okay, here I'll change it to L2, right? Now you will see that in this case, when the list is not getting modified, means that it must be creating a temporary list here or a different address location that is getting modified. So this address and this address is going to be same for me, right? Because it is the same list, but the address of this one will be different from these two, isn't it? So let's run this program. So you will see that the address of this and this is same, isn't it? 23990, 23990, but it is 23940, right? So therefore when you use it with a colon, a new list is getting to get created altogether in a new memory location, you can say, or a new address is allocated for the list which is created as a temporary list here.
So does that mean that we can access the original list at some point?
um, Here I mean, you can always access it with the help of list L2, right? This variable is accessible within the function also. You can even display print L2 here also, isn't it? So yes, you can do that. Access is always allowed. Okay. So can you please try this? Okay. So I hope with this example it is clear as to what is meant by passing a list to a method, and how to retain the original copy, and how the values of the list or the content of the list can get modified. Okay, so next thing that we are going to look at is just 1 minute. So what if now so far we have been passing some fixed number of argument, one argument, two argument, three argument, right? What if you pass a variable number of arguments? Then what? How does it work? So there is a concept supported in Python. So let's say which is the variable. Do I have a file which I can copy? Okay, so let me create a new file altogether. So I'll call it new Python file, and I'll call it variable variable arguments. Okay, now let's look at this particular function. I'll say def variable variable arguments, arguments, bracket colon, and then here I will say star of values, values. Now what I'm going to say is, first of all, let's just display values. Okay, and then let's display what is the type of this particular variable, right? So I'll say type of value, type of values. I will copy and paste it so that it becomes more readable. I'll make it like this, right? And same thing I'll do for values also. So right, so you can live without this, but I'm just writing it like that so that it is more readable when the output is displayed. Now let's try to execute this program. So I'll say variable argument, and let's print it. For example, I pass 10 here, and let's run the program. So it shows me it's a tuple and the type is tuple, right? So this whatever goes in that circle bracket is a tuple, right? And it shows the type of the data or class type if that argument which is passed is tuple, right? Now let's try it with another value here. So what if I make it 20, run as, it's a tuple again with class tuple, right? So let's try it for few other values. Let's say single quote HELLO, right? So let's run it. So still it is a tuple because tuple can hold different data types, right? So at least we know that I can pass variable number of arguments. Now this could be either 1, 2, 2, or there can be 3, 4, or as many as I want to, right? What if I try to run this program like this? Let's try what happens. So if I right click and run, it still is an empty tuple for me, right? So star means either 0 or n number of arguments, and the values which is getting passed, it is getting passed as a tuple to the function, right? Now if I have to display each one of them, what do I do? For, we have already seen a for loop for val in values, right? And then I'll say, so one by one the value will be retrieved and it will be put in val, and I can say print val equal to comma val, right? So this way one by one the values will be retrieved from the tuple and displayed, right? Now here I have passed what? I have passed a number here, or rather I would say integer and a string. And let's say I also pass here a what you say array, for you can tell comma 20 comma 30. This is a list I am trying to create here, right? So I will also try to display the type of this so that I know whether the data type that is gone in the tuple, whether it is a number or it is a string or it is an array or whatever data type you want to pass, right? So here I'll put type open bracket close bracket here, and I will copy this whole thing and I'll put it here, right? So I guess we all are aware what is going to be the output. So for the first one it will display the tuple with the type here. Okay, this type is the type of the tuple. Okay, but when I traverse the values one by one, so first case it will be integral, then for this it will be string, for this it will be list, right? So let's try to run this. Right click, run as. So let's do one thing. I'll print also. I will print a line here so that we know that it is for a different function call. So print, I will put a line here in between every function call. So let's try to run this again. So first one is starting here. So first tuple, then the type of that and iteration of that tuple, and it shows that type is int, right? Then for the second one, which is 10 20, again it is int, right? Then for the third one it is int and str for this, and this is int and this is str. And for the next one it is int str and the list, right? So can you please all of you try this? Any questions on this one, what I have just done? Any questions? So can you please try this?
So we can do the calculation based on the parameters also or dynamically, internally.
See, see, if it is a list which is something which you do not know of, then you might have to find out that what type it is, and accordingly you can perform an action, right? Because you cannot concatenate a string with a number or an integer. We have seen it is an error. So you have to know what type it is, and then accordingly perform an action. Yes.
Can you quickly recap this one?
Yeah, so see what I am doing is, the purpose is of this program is to pass variable number of arguments. Variable means either 0 or 1 or 2 or 10 or 100, as many as it can be. Now it's a tuple which is getting passed. So tuple can hold heterogeneous data type. Heterogeneous means either an integer or multiple integer or integer or string or an integer in a list, anything it could be. So what I'm doing, I'm displaying that line here, displaying the value. This is the tuple, and I'm displaying what data type it is, so it shows as tuple here for the first one. So let's do one thing, let's run it one by one. Okay, it will make more sense. So I will comment this, right? So let's try to run this program. So for this, let's run it. It is single tuple here which is displayed from this line, right? Then a type is tuple here, and I'm iterating this in a loop, and I'm fetching 10 here, and the type of that is integer, right? Now I'll comment this, let me comment it here, and then I will do it for let's, this also is clear, right? This is also integer, let's do it for this one. Okay, so this time it will be integer and string, right? So it will go here, initially it will display the values which is a tuple of this 10 and hello. Then a for loop runs, first it will fetch 10 and then hello, right? So let's try to run this program again. So 10 and hello is the tuple, right? The data type is tuple here, and then it iterates in the for loop iteration. So value is 10, it is integer, value is hello which is a string here, right? Okay, now that you have seen this as a variable number of arguments, there is a concept of what you say, position based argument and a variable number of argument in Python. So let's say argument and position. So if you look at this program, uh, what it is doing is it will assign a to this one, right? And args will hold rest of the values, isn't it?
Right.
What about this one?
First one.
Sorry, it will get assigned to arg1 and arg2 will not hold any value, right? So let's try to run this program. So it's a, in the first case it is a and bc tuple, and second case it is a, there is no entry or it's an empty tuple, right? So this way you can even mix the position based and variable number of argument function, right?